Alright, and we are back for the fourth part of Act 15, which, I don't really know what the stipulation will be for 16, to be perfectly honest. I think it might just be random selection. It might be teams, I don't know. Going to Monza, this is always, okay, almost always, at least 80%, it's the most generally entertaining race to watch because the AI don't know how to do heavy braking perfectly. They can do that sometimes when they're in the same car or same kind of car, but when we have a Corvette, a Countach, a BMW M3, and a Ferrari GTO in the same race, it's probably not going to end as well as that. But that's the fun of it, right? It's not supposed to end very well. So, as you might know by now, I go to my dad's house over every other weekend, and I was just down there, and I'll be over there, and I'll be down there over Christmas, or the weekend of Christmas anyway, the weekend before Christmas, whatever. The 22nd and 23rd, and I have my PS2 there because my dad's PS2 is absolutely useless, and I think a grand total of about 4 games work on it, and those 4 games don't necessarily work all that well either. It can't load World Race, for example. It freezes if it tries to load Stun Track Challenge. It loads Velocity X once every like 11 attempts. And beat that's about the only Hot Wheels game that works remotely consistently. Well, Buttercup had an opportunity to get right to the lead and just walk away, but she chickened out a wee bit. She's still in the second though, and I don't think one foolish warrior is going to be that much of an obstacle. Am I overusing that? I feel like I'm overusing that every time Samurai Jack is brought up and I just call him a foolish warrior. I mean, come on. Aku's hilarious. You can't tell me otherwise. That's kind of his entire point. He's to make up for the fact that Samurai Jack basically doesn't ever say anything. And even less of that, and even less of the amount of stuff that he says is actually funny. So I have mine there, which, well, that means I can play all of the games for, well, no, I can play them, it's like, how do I word this? I can play them as much as I want for about 24 hours. Because I only get one day at my dad's. He has a packed work schedule, to say the least. As Ferb is already trying that, boy, what do you think this is? That is not going to work. You know, Wreck-It Ralph, he's always, the Shelby's always a terrifying force to deal with at the modern layout of Monza. Well, SpongeBob has passed Buttercup. This is probably not much more than a minor setback for her. However, it is kind of giving Samurai Jack some time to, as it were, take the money and run, which I also realize I say a lot in these videos. But it's sort of like the default phrase that I have for, you know, when people run away from second place like this. In one lap, he's 3 seconds away from her. Penelope is up to 7th already. She started like 11th, 10th. Blossom, for the moment, is in points place. This is Jimmy Neutron, but I can't imagine that'll last too long with this behind him. And even though this is arguably the 190E's weakest track because of all the straightaways, up there with the actual Monza course, or the original classic one, but I still don't think it'll have too much of a hard time getting at least a couple of points. I cannot tell right now if Buttercup is any closer to Samurai Jack than she was at the start of the lap. I don't think so, though. But anyway, so when I was at my dad's, the game I probably played the most over the weekend was the video game tie-in to Speed Racer. And it's basically F-Zero, but with dialogue. Like, as in the characters will talk during the race. And when I mean talk, I mean they don't really stop talking. I guess it's... I mean, the characters are based off comic book characters, so they kind of have to have a good bit of personality. But the game isn't very complicated. I mean, you can't even drive off the track like you can in the actual F-Zero games. They're just an invisible wall, and it's largely on rails, to the point where it's almost like Crash Bandicoot, where even if you turn the car around and face against the camera will not turn around to accommodate it. It'll just be like, yeah, no, suck it. Also, Samurai Jack is definitely winning this race. And my throat is definitely congested a lot. Also, I think Penelope is trying to force her way through the field a little more than she probably should be. Good thing I have a convenient half can of pop next to me, so I can hopefully rinse that away. And stop coughing, preferably. And will it work? I don't know, but here's hoping, I suppose. But I kind of determined, well, I noticed very quickly, I noticed a long time ago, actually. A couple of the characters in that game share voice actors with pretty major characters in the cartoon world. One, the Gray Delisle, does one of the characters in the game. And, well, if you don't know who that is, Keyblade, you fail as a cartoon fan, because, well, she's literally pretty much everywhere. Not quite as much as Tara Strong, but she's had a good number of roles, to say the least. Though I always tend to think of Samantha from Danny Phantom first, even though I watched more of the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. But I basically did what we would normally do for any other Hot Wheels game. Attribute the characters in Speed Racer to characters from Hot Wheels or Cartoon Network. And the only four that I did not do that for, the four main characters that were in the actual movie, remain as themselves. So, Speed Racer himself, Racer X, Cannonball, the villain, and Trixie, Speed Racer's girlfriend. Those didn't change, but I probably could change them too, and I even thought at one point of who I would change them to if I did it that way. And then there's 24 characters. There's the 4 that I left from the actual characters from the movie. And then there's, I believe, 10 Hot Wheels. I believe it's 10 and 10, but I'm not positive. I have the memo on my tablet down here. I could just look at that. I suppose. The camera. I think it's 24. It might be 23. It should be. see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, it should be 10 and 10. 10 Cartoon Network characters and 10 Hot Wheels characters from, you know, our series. So like Alex, X3, Danny, Bert, Gearhead, so on. Even though X3 actually is not one of them. And that would undoubtedly be one series that I would probably end up doing if I end up getting a way to record PS2 gameplay. Well, I've managed to talk over the entire race, and I still have an entire extra subject to cover. Oh yeah, I imagine Phineas didn't really have the most thrilling time here ever. Wait, no, this isn't the final lap. I was confused. You see, every other game I can think of kind of has some sort of prompt that says, okay, this is the final lap. Not this one though. And if I stop paying attention, sometimes I'll just not notice that we've just started the last lap, and I'll think, oh, that says lap 5 of 5, and they just crossed the line. The race must be over. It's not. No, when do we ever say it was, but okay. I also am well aware that I've been highlighting Vanellope for the last, like, 2.5 laps, but she is kind of in a good place to get a view of the cars in front of her, since this is basically the only fight going if you look at the kind of time splits back there. Because I can guarantee you, Dexter, judging by that map, is not 0.02 of a second away from Lilo and Stitch. And so Samurai Jack will win the race, with Buttercup in a not very close second. SpongeBob, Wreck-It Ralph, Ferb, and Vanellope all come in close proximity. Lilo not too far from that. And I imagine Dexter, Isabella, and everyone else are a good couple of seconds back from each other. Okay guys, you can stop going nutty like that. The race is over, for crying out loud. Stop trying to kill each other into the first turn. But yeah, so there's something about doing that and not only simplifying the names of the characters, but also just joking to myself about the character being compared to the thing that they are. That just like... okay, Vanellope. Makes it a little funnier. Like... I didn't just blow up some random character that I've never heard of before. I just blew up fucking... that slipped. I just blew up Alex from Hot Wheels somehow. Just because I say so. Yeah, I mean it's been 15 acts. It had to slip at some point, right? Because no, I am not always PG. In fact, I'm rarely PG, especially when I'm actually playing the games. There. That would probably be an awkward part of recording for me would just be maintaining status quo for however long you record for. As you can tell, I'm having a hard time doing that. Clearing my throat like every 3 minutes, and I've blown my nose, I've, done all this other stuff that's not exactly what you would call professional. No, I don't claim to be a professional recorder in any sense. It's just a matter of if I ever plan on it, I have to definitely work on not clearing my throat every 30 seconds. The other thing, though, I have to change the hood again. Or that. That's another one that's not so professional. But yeah, so this kind of it got me thinking when I looked at my display case that I showed in an older episode that had like all the different that arc characters' cars in one case. And you mentioned like how you thought it was kind of cool that I had some of the actual cars from the games, like specifically Velocity X, and well, Suntrack Challenge doesn't use any real models, so you can just change them whenever you want. However, that sort of reminded me as I thought about it, I have more than that are of the actual model from a game. I have the vast majority of the Velocity X cars. I have a couple of Turbo Racing ones, but those are much harder to come by, and I have a handful of the World Race cars. Like 7. You don't even wonder the going rate of some of those cars. Ridiculous. Some of the World Race diecasts will go for $100. If the person knows what they have, that is. Well, this is happening. Okay, Jack. Let's go win another one, huh? Penelope's had a couple of accidents, it seems. And so I don't remember the exact number. I'm missing a few that I do have, but I don't have one car because the design is made up, but everything else I have somewhere, although I don't have it in the picture, but I believe the overall number is like I have 28. Of the 33. Yeah, 28. I'm missing 5. Technically 4. So where CX4 is the one with the design that doesn't actually exist anymore. I basically put it in a big group with a bunch of the other replicas that I have. Replicas, or at the very least closest to designs. I forgot how long this track is. I didn't know laps were going to be 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes or so. Or I would probably not have put it on 5 laps. Somehow, someway, Blossom's still holding on to 2nd place, though Samurai Jack is absolutely out of here. And she's not holding it by much. Ferb is very hungry. And Buttercup is not doing too well, which, I mean, she sort of has to right now. She has a points lead to defend, and she's not even hardly able to score any points. That's not going to help her. Because I believe her main points rival, Penelope, is going to score a lot more than her from this. Obviously. Yeah, Buttercup does have a cushion. Also, Dexter just got hopelessly lost for a second, but Buttercup does have a cushion of like 10 or so points, maybe 12. But like, why let it shrink if you don't have to? But apparently she has to, or something. I don't know. She's not really driving like she has a championship to win here. She's just kind of driving like it's a casual Sunday drive-esque event, which is not really how Buttercup operates in any regard. She is generally the last one I would think of to be casual about something. Oh, that's not quite how you slow down there, SpongeBob. He was not ready, not ready, not ready. For that corner, that is. So Ferb is taking 2nd. Maybe he's catching Samurai Jack, but I couldn't tell you. Should probably find out. Doesn't really look like it though. And now Vanellope will be next to take Blossom's big points away. This would almost double her score. She has 11, this would add another 10. If she finished here, which, given it's Vanellope behind her, I don't think she will. But you never know. Vanellope could do something stupid, I suppose. That's a possibility with any of the AI in this game. They can always do something questionable. Wreck-It Ralph has apparently attempted some wrecking. This is not the time or place, though. Lilo and Stitch is here to remove some points from people who, with their ultra handling, and well, kind of lower power, but still enough. Just spit everywhere. Great. Good job, me. It's enough power to make the handling worth it, I guess, would be the correct terminology here, as Vanellope does eventually get around Blossom, about an entire lap probably later than Ferb did it. Yeah, I can't really do anything about Samurai Jack. He is way up there. You can see him just about in distance. That's probably about 8 seconds away from Ferb right now. 7.5 maybe. And yeah, those lap times, they don't lie. That 2 minutes 40 that Purvis runs there, Blossom was entirely out of his way for that. He didn't have to contend with passing somebody anywhere on that lap. That's just, he is not as fast as Samurai Jack. It would make some sense that Samurai Jack would somehow in some way win this, given the fact that this lineup isn't all that different from that of Act 1, minus a couple of additions like Penelope and Ferb's cars. And Danny in the same car won that act, so it would be not unheard of if Samurai Jack ends up at least winning a lot of races in it, if not the entire championship. But given his position in the championship now, I don't know if win championship is really on the cup. Good job, Buttercup. I think Lilo and Stitch also did the same thing up ahead. Trying to pass a lower spec version of what is almost the same car. They were both made for the same racing series, Group A Touring in 1990. But this is the actual thing, and that one's the homologation, which is just the term for... It's a production car event, so you have to make a certain number of production cars open to the available to the public to get in to the series. It's just like how NASCAR races like the Ford, Chevy, and Toyota. Well, those companies have to use cars that they have made as production sedans, so that's why we have like the Toyota Camry and the Chevy Camaro and Ford Mustang in there, because those are real cars, and that's kind of the requisite of being a NASCAR model. The car has to exist in public, and that's how basically every motorsport used to work and still works, with the exception of single-seat racers and Le Mans prototypes cars. But like GT, most of the time all the time nowadays, those cars have got to exist. They have to be homologated to, run, and so that's why we have the sports cars and supercars on the road that we have, because generally they don't really want to make them, but if they want to race them, they have to make a few for the road. Now some companies only do the limit and only the limit, so the limit's 400 real-life examples of or road-going examples, so they make exactly 400 cars and they sell out immediately. Like the Subaru Impreza 22B from '98, for example. But then there are some companies, most companies do this nowadays, because they just, use commonly pre-existing road-going models and just turn them into GT rides. So, obviously, like, the Ford GT LM existed well after the Ford GT model. And so therefore when it came to, determining whether or not this car exists and is legal to run in these kind of events that require homologation, well, it already exists. There's probably one in the parking lot. So, the unspoken advantage to going a couple of days in between recordings, it gives me ample time to prepare conversation pieces, so that when races like this aren't terribly entertaining, there's still something happening, and that I am speaking on a regular basis and not dead silence, me saying something random and pointless. And then another 2 minutes of dead silence because the AI are being boring. This race, after lap 3, wasn't very exciting. Also, Dexter was 4th. Interesting. And SpongeBob will take the final... Nope. Ralph will take the final points position. SpongeBob... Nope. Leaderboard lied. Who is it? I think Ralph actually roughed up SpongeBob for the position and still did not get it. I think that is what happened. According to that leaderboard, SpongeBob got it. According to this one, Ralph has it. It was Ralph. Alright then. I had to keep I had to triple check, was it Ralph? Was it really Ralph? It was Ralph. Okay, well, that is close. That is very close. Summer Jack is ahead by 1 point. Buttercup and Ferb are tied for second. And then Penelope is only 2 more points away in fourth. However, just about anyone else is, logically speaking, out of the question. Lilo and Stitch, if they get some good starting spots, especially at this track, could do pretty well and gain some of that ground, though that would require their opponents having poor results. And most of these drivers, they're kind of up there because they don't usually have that. So, yeah. Move on to Fictional USA Road, as the game will title it, if you look at it. I'm trying to think of the Velocity X cars that I'm missing, because I'm looking at the picture I've already taken, and I'll be putting it to onto Imgur in a link, along with the other replica models after the video. But, or when I upload the video anyway. Which one am I missing here? Oh, yeah, I'm missing that. I have that one. I have that one. Do I have that one? No, I don't have that one. Two are missing. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know I have that one somewhere. Some of these are hard to keep track of, okay? This one I'm not accounting for here. Oh, yeah. That's the one I'm missing. Like, outright missing that exists. Oh, yeah, duh. I can tell you who won't be getting a great result here. Buttercup, who starts in 14th. Penelope gets an opportunity to break away because all of her main opponents, basically, other than Ferb, start in last. We're very close to Samurai Dragon 10th, Buttercup in 14th, and just in case we thought Lilo might make a come up and somehow... Nope, not from there. Not from 13th. 14th. And poor Bubbles, too. Oh, Buttercup has been surprise maneuvered by Lilo and Stitch. I can't imagine she enjoyed that. But is there anything she can even do about it? I mean, she could probably punch him, but I don't think that would work. Well, if this isn't fitting... No, I don't want... And there we go. And see what it's like to drive one of these cars. It looks like it has like a little side mirror off the side, but it's... Well, there is one, the little circle thing. But there's like an extra pane of glass that's seemingly there for no reason at all. I can imagine it's on the other side, but I don't know. Thing is, I gotta change everything back at my own car. So we have a fight. Most specifically, Ferb and Vanellope will be fighting for the championship lead at the end of this race. Samurai Jack can try as he will to catch up to this fight, and he might get close, but I don't think in the end he'll ever get positions. These three are already a pretty good distance away from the rest of the cars, helped largely by Blossom, who somehow made 5 spots up in 1 lap in her car, which is... This Porsche isn't the most impressive car here. That's not, to say the very least. And given these two are also behind her, it'll be hard for anyone to make a lot of advances. And Dexter's apparently been getting into it a little. Someone, probably SpongeBob by the looks of that damage. Phineas is already down in 10th, and he started in 1st. Wreck-It Ralph will lead the first lap, with Vanellope and Ferb not far behind. Blossom, after apparently, like, the ultimate start. This is the ultimate. No, cringe. Samurai Jack is, how about no? Yeah, Dexter was very smart to not try and buy into that one. Timmy, okay, Samurai. A foolish warrior. I am not sorry. It's too funny, okay? A foolish warrior. The million-dollar question now becomes, how long can Blossom keep that 4th? Because I think we both know. That's a lot of damage, Dexter. We both know that Porsche of hers is not the best car, and certainly isn't a match for the likes of Dexter's RX-7 or the Supra of Samurai Jack. Or depending on who else might get up here, but if Buttercup or Lilo and Stitch somehow get up to them, which I don't think Buttercup will be doing that from here. Seemingly having been in a pretty big hit, and I don't know when it happened. I mean, I guess we can look. It was a 3-minute lap, so unless it happened at the start. Which it seems like that might be the damage from I think she's driving normally. God. Oh God. Well, that's some of SpongeBob's damage came from, I think. You can see the suspension kind of swings around a little when she turns in sharp. Or at all, by the looks of it. And so as a result, she kind of has to correct. And that's losing her a ton of time, and that's why she's now in last. And, in a sense, also probably out of the championship running as a result. As a result. This is kind of a canonical pairing here. These two are always together. But not generally in this circumstance, obviously. For getting a little frisky over taking 2nd place. Let's see if it works out. Yeah, because Vanellope was apparently asleep at the wheel there. The AI really don't do much of brave, like, braking maneuvers into that turn, do they? They definitely are very patient and careful. I don't know. Is like, are there like landmines on the turn? Nope, he tried to fight back, but it might not. Didn't seem to have worked. Vanellope will now go to the other side of Ferb and I guess try and take him into this little chicane in the first turn. Better power, much better acceleration, although I don't know about top speed wise what the comparison is, but I don't think Ferb will get him much too close to it at any point during the lap around here. Well, the Samurai Jack somehow just yoinked 3 places. And we'll see how he did that. We saw this, and I figured he would probably get around Timmy Turner. And I guess he just probably outdrove both of these guys down the straightaway, I had to assume. Nitrox 2 activated. So how does he do this? Oh, gee whiz. Is this full speed? It's real time, rather? I think it is. Yeah. The craziest braking maneuver from Samurai Jack. That was something else. He's like assassinated Dexter to the turn, but never hit him, obviously. That was cuckoo, to say the least. I just realized now we get to wait for Buttercup to finish the race. And or Phineas, because either one are very fast right now. Well, Phineas never was. And the fact that he has any points in this championship is beyond science, or any kind of explanation. Yet, he has points, and Buttercup is only slow because her car was abused by... I guess, if I had to guess, it was probably Lilo and Stitch's sudden maneuver into the first turn of the race. And sort of pushed her out of the way. Like, Imgur will make it ourselves type maneuver. They have like second guesses on their way into the turn. They're just suddenly realize, oh, I can brake later. Oh, I broke too early. Oh god! And then just suddenly hit the gas and then hit the brakes again. Like, maybe if you just brake a little later next time, you wouldn't even have to do that at all. But who am I to tell you what to do? AI that can't hear a thing that I'm saying. Fight for the last spot in the points is apparently close. This fight still was close. It's not so much anymore. Ferb definitely has a higher top speed, but Vanellope's short gear ratios are he's no match for them. Blossom is apparently not done yet. Lilo and Stitch slightly tap the wall. Blossom is there, and now Blossom isn't, because, well, that car is like better than hers in every single way, and it's a wonder how she stayed ahead of it this long. Other than because Lilo and Stitch started 13th and she started in 9th, which, again, we can't overlook that. Even in this car that I remark as not all that great, gained that many places on the first lap of the race. Although, you know, consider too, the first turn of this track is kind of a, like, you know, chaos fest. There is no chaos control here. Lilo and Stitch are now looking to take this position from Dexter. I can't imagine this will take long either. it does, then they're doing something slightly wrong, I think. Awesome. Still with the decent odds of scoring 3 points today. Assuming Timmy doesn't find some sort of sudden driving skill out of literally nowhere, which I find unlikely. It's weird. I actually 3-1 racer 2 in this car, so I guess Timmy just isn't that great of a driver. Now it takes 3 to tango down here. Samurai Jack has just absolutely mugged Ferb in these 2 hairpins. And might do the same to Penelope down the straightaway with his 600-some horsepower Supra. I just hit Ferb 3 separate times. I was not paying attention there. Slipstream. Was just having more power. Longer gear ratios. Yeah, that does not at all surprise me. Penelope could try something, but I don't think she'd be smarter to not do that. And as a result, she doesn't. She's just better off staying in third and focusing on making sure that the British boy stays behind her. And now the race is super spread out. Fantastic. Come on, Isabella, spice it up, why don't you? Well, all things considered, though, despite all of the damage... how is Bubbles... What is happening? Despite all of the damage that she has, Buttercup is not one to give up at all. Anyone who watches the show will definitely know that. And she is still working on at least 1 point here. It would take a miracle, and also take a lot of not doing that, but it's not impossible either. Especially if Doofenshmirtz and SpongeBob get caught together. Which, that sounds a little awkward, but it's not what I meant. If the Doofenshmirtz gets caught trying to get around to SpongeBob, kind of hold up Isabella a tiny bit, where Isabella does something crazy into a braking zone with her old 1970s braking pads, Buttercup can reap the rewards of their craziness. Or we can just sit like this and nothing will happen. That's also a possibility. That's probably the one that'll happen, but that's not the point. She can maybe at least mug Isabella down the hairpins. Hopefully do something. I bet you it's Jimmy Neutron. They tried to pass each other. Jimmy was not having it, and that gave Buttercup a chance to slowly creep back up to the group. She doesn't have much cornering anymore. If she didn't have all of that damage on her car, she'd probably be up in 9th or 8th. But instead, I don't think she'll be scoring still. Isabella will not try anything on Doofenshmirtz. Ralph will win the race by a good bit of time, really. 4.5 seconds. Penelope another 3 later. Ferb was there. Dexter remains 5th. Lilo cannot make the move. Blossom in 7th. Timmy in a very distant 8th. SpongeBob in a more distant 9th. And it seems Doofenshmirtz will take the final points of the race and the episode. Buttercup would most likely actually pass Isabella down the straightaway with the Corvette's speed and power. And assuming she can keep it working for the corner, she would probably take 11th there. Probably. She would, yeah. Pretty sure. Oh yeah. But unfortunately, I don't really have the time or patience for a 6th lap. So you get nothing, Buttercup. You lose. So we have just 1 episode left to go. Samurai Jack extends his lead from 1 to 5. Penelope and Ferb are now tied, rather than Buttercup and Ferb. Ralph has made himself clearly present, 21 points away, so it's mathematically possible if Samurai Jack has a couple of not-so-good races. But it's not terribly likely that that will happen, given how he's been performing recently. So even though Wreck-It Ralph has won this race, that's probably because he started in, like, 2nd place. And I imagine if it were a 6-lap race, Samurai Jack could have probably caught Ralph. Pass was a different story, but he might have caught him in time. He might have gotten to, like, within a second of him. It's going to really depend on the starting grid, the way I see it. If, well, it's a wild card if any of Jimmy or Phineas or arguably Blossom or Bubbles, who are now tied, as they probably should be because they are in virtually the same car. The only difference basically is that Bubbles is a convertible. But yeah, if any of those two or either of the other girls start on pole, it can be a bit of a wild card, especially if none of the top 5 are on pole. I guess rather the top 6. Because Lilo can also run away if given the chance. But if, like, the front row is, like, Jimmy and Phineas, and the second row is, like, Doofenshmirtz and Dexter, that's basically anybody's guess who will win. It's going to be more or less the closest of the top 4, or top 5, to the front. And I guess you could say that's kind of how it always works. The starting grid is sort of like the predetermining factor of, okay, if you start on pole or in the top 3 and your car isn't terrible, you have a good shot of winning, assuming that somebody else with an equal or better car isn't also starting there. Championships can fall apart completely if the one that's leading or close to catching the leader in points suddenly starts in 14th and cannot make their way to the points. Meanwhile, the championship leader just scored 12 with 2nd place because they started there. And that's basically just kiss your championship goodbye. So that's, Buttercup needs to not have that happen, again, anyway. And, I don't think it's really happened to either of Jack or Vanellope, but then again, the starting grid's been pretty nice to those two, as well as Ferb, and it's been nice to Isabella, but she doesn't have the car to capitalize on it. Countach is kind of mid-tier, and its best quality is if you can do it right. If they don't brake properly, they'll just run someone off the road that's in front of them. But that's if they have good brakes, and you can catch them down a straightaway, which the Countach can't catch a lot of these cars down the straight. Despite being a Lamborghini, its top speed is very average. I think it's like hitting 155 down the straightaway in the last race. And then we had Samurai Jack, who's in like 166 or so. Even Buttercup is getting that same speed with her suspension damage and busted up body paddles. Not Bonnie paddles. Not Bonnie paddles, that's definitely not it. That doesn't make any sense. So that will be all for this episode. I have a more than usual backward sleep schedule right now, so if I find some spare time after uploading this one, it's not impossible that I might just finish the act tonight. Or it would basically be this morning, because I'm recording this at 4:15 right now. So, yeah.